Welcome to JGTCR, I'm Cope, and today we are tuning the BMW M3 89. Let's get into it. I have said it before, and I will say it again. It feels good when things just work. The M3 seems to have this concept sorted. It's not a balls-to-the-wall performance car, but it does well for what it is. Overall, it's just a well-rounded vehicle. The handling is quite good. We can throw it into corners easy or hard, and it responds appropriately. It corners well and does as it's told. It is very rare to have issues with how this BMW steers. The power we have available to us is not massive, but it fits the package well. Traction loss is uncommon, but when it does occur, it is easily controllable. Needless to say, most of the power we put down gets to the ground. The brakes are once again perfect for the application. They do what they're supposed to do, and they do it well. Let's collect our time. Eight minutes, 17.7 seconds. It's tune time. The race tune for the M3 89 sees nothing out of the ordinary. The body height adjustment is lower at the front than the rear. This is to help with some understeer issues we were having. Our initial torque setting is maxed at 60. This is to keep the LSD active at all times. Let's see it in action on the Nürburgring. When modified and tuned, this M3 drives about the same. It's just that now it goes 100% harder. That's what she said. The handling feels like it's on rails for the most part. Even when pushing rather hard, this M3 is as cool as a cucumber. It is quite happy to do what we ask of it, and it does it effortlessly. The power is certainly better, but it still does not push the limits of this chassis. The power delivery is solid. It comes on strong enough to get going, but not aggressive enough to bake the rear wheels. That's not to say we don't get wheel spin from time to time, it's just that it's not detrimental to the drive feel. The brakes work well and are spot on for the application, with no real issues to report at all. Let's collect our time. 6 minutes, 48.2 seconds. And now the drift tune. Only a few changes were made to the M3 to make it drift. The body height adjustment was made lower at the rear than the front. This gives us a squatting stance. We also increased our acceleration sensitivity to the max at 60 points. Let's go drifting. It appears that the BMW M3 89 is the Euro equivalent of an AE86 in drift terms. It has to be drifted at higher RPM, wringing the neck out of it to keep it alive. The approach to drift we need to take is kamikaze style. So take big swings and throw it in hard and she'll love you in the morning. If we want to use a real-world comparison, feel free to look up Yuio drifting the Yuke's AE86 from the old D1 GP series. And if you've already seen it, you will know exactly what we're talking about here. The handling works well and maneuvers the car as is necessary on the track. It is light and nimble and rarely lets us down. It does feel like it's lacking in power, although it does get the job done. This may be annoying for some, but it is part of the charm. The power delivery does do its best. Again, it can feel like it's lacking. The best course of action is to put the foot down and keep it screaming at high RPM. If we do this, all is well. It's time to do an engine swap. In factory trim with just the engine swap, this M3 feels strange to drive. The car has been unbalanced, and the way it drives makes it abundantly clear. The front end is notorious for understeer. We need to dab the brakes at every turn to get the weight over the front so we can corner properly. The oversteer is terrible. It comes on like a light switch. This can catch us by surprise, and most of the times it happens in the worst place possible. This BMW likes to float on the track quite a bit, and it can be frustrating to try and manage at times. The extra weight from the engine swap has destroyed the drive feel. It is the direct cause of our understeer issues, and it also messes with our braking quite a lot. The brakes themselves do try really hard to keep up, but unfortunately they fall short by quite a margin. So we must be prepared and move our brake markers way back and hold on to those brakes until the last moment. And even then, we still run the risk of overshooting the turn. Let's jump ahead and collect our time. "7 minutes, 36.1 seconds. Let's look at the race tune. The race tune for the BMW M3 focused on overcoming our understeer issues. There was also a need to diminish the aggressiveness of the power delivery. This can be seen in our differential settings. The MVP in this sector is the ballast of 20 kilos at a ballast positioning of 25 over the rear wheels. Let's hit the track. When completely modified and tuned, the BMW M3 with the engine swap is extremely rapid, and it handles like a completely different vehicle. It loves to rev out, but it can get squirrely if we are not planning and scrutinizing every element on the track. It handles exceptionally well, all things considered, and will surprise with how accurately it can be placed on circuit. The power is good, but can be somewhat strange. It has a lot of push power in the mid to mid-high rev range. However, it seems to run out of puff in the last 15% of the RPM, so it's best to short shift. The power delivery is quite strong and can unsettle the vehicle on occasion if we do not handle it appropriately. As the power peaks and the tail end starts to get squirrely, it's best to ease off and get ahead of it, as this M3 does not like slides or drift, and it will not hesitate to chastise us for this indiscretion. The brakes do a stellar job of slowing the car down, but it can get squirrely if the road surface is uneven, so brake well, but be cautious. Let's collect our time. "6 minutes, 13.8 seconds. And now, the drift tune. Our drift tune for the M3 has seen some changes, but nothing too drastic. We did have to reduce the braking sensitivity of the differential as there was a bit too much bite and it forced us to spin around. We also increased the ballast to 45 kilos and moved the ballast positionings a few clicks further back. Let's drift Suzuka. The engine swap has made a huge difference to some of the aspects of how this vehicle drives, while others have remained the same. This M3 sways and moves very similar to the non-swap equivalent, but the big difference is power. The handling is fairly smooth, but we can have bouts of understeer come through, usually depending on how aggressive we are on inputs. The smoother we are with our drifting style, the more responsive the vehicle is. When it comes to power, there is plenty to go around, and the power delivery is incredibly different. The basic principle is to not let the RPM drop below 4,000. If it does, it tends to bog down, and this is where we can run into trouble as the power falls away quite quickly. However, if we stay above 4,000 RPM, it screams like a banshee and delivers power instantly. But this can be a double-edged sword, as higher in the RPM, the wheel speed can be too much and spin us right the way around. So no bouncing off the limiter and stay in the power band for best results. And that's all we have for you today, so until next time, keep racing!